this is KUGAN CASSIUS for iFILM London. We're at Gloves Community Centre here in Bolton. With me, I've got trainer to champions, what he calls himself, Joe Gallagher. What's happening, Joe?
No, Quigg, I'm all right. Good to see you up here, mate. Nice of you to pop in. I'm really pleased. And the lads were really excited to know that iFILM London were coming up here today. We thought you only could go to one gym, not mentioning the only gym, but it's good that you're up here, mate.
No, listen, cards on the table. We don't consistently go to any gym, so...
No, but it's a bit enough. No. Listen, it's good to keep up here. Listen, Quigg, before this all started, we all knew each other, didn't we, mate? So it's good to see. And I never said it in the past, but congratulations on your journalist award, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much. I've milked that as long as I could, but you bring back the memories. So
no, definitely. I'm just making sure that, like you say, we're down the homeward stretch, and I'm sure you want to retain that title this year, don't you?
Double champion would be great.
Yeah, that's it. It's not a fluke. We don't want to see it's a fluke.
Definitely not, or a fix. Today, right, we've got spoke to Scott Quigg today, so let's talk a little bit about Scott Quigg. Hasn't fought since his he beat Rendell Munro back in November. Yeah. So again, that's for someone who's trying to push at that level. Creeping onto the world stage, Scott, it must be hard. He hasn't fought for nearly 6 months now.
Well, yeah, I think it was Scott that said it to me. I said, we're April now. He says, the time I get back in the ring, it's one fight I've had in 12 months. Because the Munro fight originally was June. And for Scott, after that first fight in June, I wanted Scott out possibly straight away in July or September, October. Quick defence of the British. Then he beat Munro. And I seen a tweet, I think it was... Steve Kim on Twitter, that he says that Lemachenko, what's it called, who beat Ricky?
Senchenko.
Yeah, Senchenko not only ended Ricky's career, but he seems to have put a halt to Scott Quigg's career as well, which was quite funny, I thought. But it was because I thought Scott Quigg walked out of there that night, putting his career best performance. It's unfortunate it was lost on the Ricky Hatton comeback. Do you know what I mean? It was unfortunate what happened to Ricky, and that was on prime time. And like I say, it was one of his career best performance, and he thought that's it, take off now. And through whatever reasons, the kid hasn't fought since now. He's WBA interim champion. He's still British champion, and it wasn't that though. He's been on a diet. Scott Quigg this week, funny enough, Quigg, you just mentioned, for the first time, apart from the bits of sparring that he does with Stephen Smith and Crawler in the gym, which is orthodox sparring, Scott Quigg had been on a whole diet near enough for a year on southpaws. From originally this time last year, he started for the first Munro, and then it got to December, so the whole 8-9 months there was southpaw, and since then in the gym he's been back. He's basically been doing orthodox sparring with Stephen Smith, Anthony Crawler, but that's like gym sparring. But this week now he's done live orthodox sparring, and it's just taken himself a while to get adjusted again because he was on such a diet, and he's no problems with fighting southpaw again, but he's just got to get his rhythm back in an orthodox, and takes a while. And this week he's been doing some live, what I call live orthodox sparring, and that's good. And what I want is, it's great that he's got a WBA interim world championship belt, but what I really could do with is possibly, and I said at the time when he won, what I could do with two good orthodox fights for him, either against a Mexican, an American, and possibly a European or a Chinese kid from that part of the world, Joe, the low weights, because on the world scene, that's what's dominating at the moment. You see Nonito Donaire, Regondo, Cuban, and I'd want Quigg. Listen, I know people say me and Barry, we all have loggerheads, but there's one thing about Barry, and you've got to give credit where it's due. He's done a good job managing Carl Frampton. He's got him the right opponents at the right time. He got for a good Mexican over in, I think it was Sheffield that time. Good learning fight that was for Carl Frampton. He had a good learning fight, and that's something I wanted for Scott Quigg, because they're what's ruling that weight division. And then when the fight fell apart with Martinez straight away, he went and got Molitor. They didn't just say, oh, the show's cancelled, and that was a great fight at a great time, good confidence builder, very much like when Naz fought Boom Johnson at the time. And he's done really well, and obviously his performance in Kiko Martinez, he done well, but we've seen a lot of flaws in there because he was under pressure, real proper pressure for the first time, and people forget, and this is the difference, Scott Quigg beat Rendell Munro very, very easy. Okay, and that's no disrespect to Rendell, but no one expected that. Everyone on ringside, everyone in the trade all saw it as a 50-50 fight. And I was just a bit disappointed for Scott that he never got the plaudits that he should have got in the way that Frampton did for meeting Martinez, because Monroe beat Martinez twice, but in the way that we beat Monroe, and people have got to not get a little bit too excited, but we beat the man that beat the man who in a better way that he did, do you understand? And also Booth as well. So I'm just a little bit fortunate, but Scott's in the gym. We decided a few weeks ago, right, we've got to go in a good camp, 12-week camp, and 5-6 weeks into it, Scott's wanting and hoping to hear that he's got a date, and hopefully that'll be first couple of weeks in May, and we're looking at a fight in June. And I've said it before in an interview, if he isn't, it'll be an unhappy little bunny.
Liam Smith, now mandatory to face Brian Rose. Whether Brian Rose vacates that belt is yet to be seen. So how do you think that situation is going to pan out? Do you think that he'll end up fighting for a vacant title?
Yeah, I think so. It's disappointing, but Brian Rose and Liam Smith, that's a real good solid trade fight. Brian Rose has done remarkably well to come back from what happened to him with Maxwell. He's won the Lonsdale belt outright. I think the team around him have done a fantastic job. They've matched him well. Good little confidence builders beating Vivian Harris. Now he's got this kid Elysian at the weekend who he should take care of. Liam Smith has sort of like come, he's not had the fanfare like a lot of the kids have, and I still consider Liam Smith one of possibly 3 or 4 of Frank Warren's fighters as the best Frank Warren fighter that he's got at the moment. He just doesn't seem to get the fanfare or the push like a few others do. But I do think Liam's come up on the dark side. He's made great improvements, and I thought he step up into light middleweight this year with O'Meara, winning the Commonwealth belt. It was a really good performance by him. I'd like him to fight Brian Rose, but I think Brian Rose, the people know about him, and this isn't saying that they've got to duck out of it or bottle it, but I just don't think the reward is worth the risk for the British belt. They've got the British belt, and I'm sure after this win at the weekend, they'll be looking to move Brian Rose to another level, whether that be European or fringe world or an intercontinental belt. And I think Liam will be left to fight for the vacant British belt, either against Eric the Eagle, Otching, or whoever the board nominate. That's another thing that's a bit frustrating for Liam as well. A kid there fought in December, great performance. Thought he'd be fighting again within 90 days winning the Commonwealth belt, but he hasn't, and he's still got no date, the kid. And if that British title scenario plays out that we've just seen, that I just spoke about, Liam won't be fighting for that British belt till September, October time, and that's disheartening. Liam Smith at the moment is in the papers for different reasons, and in boxing it's to do with football.
A lot's been made over the last couple of years, and it's just come about the other day about your style of training. Listen, I've never spoke to you about it, but I know you've got something to say about this. But it's been implied that all your fighters, for some reason, tend to fight the same way, and
a winning way.
A winning way. But no, what do you make of this? Because I know, because I see tweets from the boys the other day saying this. So, from your point of view, you train these boys. So, what's your take on that?
Well, I won't say they train all the same way. When you get fighters, you have to go with what they're good at, what the strengths and assets are. You couldn't make Ricky Hatton an Amir Khan type fighter. Ricky Hatton was strong, quick feet, good hands, sharp, fast feet movement. Amir Khan, you can't make like Ricky Hatton. And I think when you look at the kids that I've had from scratch, John Murray and Joe Murray, they're 2 different style of fighters. John Murray's a pressure fighter, didn't have fast hands or fast reflexes like his brother, but his brother has. And Joe, quick-footed, quick hands, great ability, just a bit of a late developer, but he's got power that'll go with it. So for people saying my style, well, there's 2 kids from scratch that have got 2 different styles. Along the way, you look at the kids and the performances that we've put in, and people say, oh, they're come planning for the losses, and I think the losses that people are going about. Matthew Macklin lost to Felix Sturm. Many people thought he won. John Murray was winning the fight with Kevin Mitchell and didn't obey orders and then got took out in a great fight of the year contest. Anthony Crolla lost to Derry Matthews, but we've seen the other night Anthony Crolla came with a different game plan and fought a great tactical fight. Stephen Smith-Selby, well, no one's giving Billy Nelson stick because John Simpson got flattened in 5 by Lee Selby, so you can't. You've got haters who'll always hate. And listen, at the end of the day, when you get an opponent, you do the best that you can to beat that opponent, and the styles will change and everything else. And we worked it out the other day, out of 150 odd professional contests, we've only lost 12. That's all we've lost, 12. So you've got to go on the styles The fight, now, Anthony Crolla, some would say, is as a front foot fighter. No, it was for some fights. It had to be against a John Watson or an Andy Morris or whatever, do you understand? Anthony Crolla couldn't stand off against Andy Morris. Andy Morris would box the head off him, do you understand? Andy Morris was a good fast-handed fighter, do you understand? John Murray couldn't go on the back foot against Lee McAllister, because Lee McAllister would have boxed the head off him, do you know what I mean, in cricket? So you've got to get the style that's right to win the fight. Paul Smith was doing fantastic against George Groves, caught him at the end of the first round, making George fall short. I keep saying to Adam, we had him that night, and like they said, they threw a right hand, they aimed for a body, and if George threw that shot 100 times since, it never landed sweet. It was just one of them shots, and it was a fantastic shot, and fair play to him, he's gone onwards and upwards, but it wasn't for the sake that Paul was coming forward in straight lines, he was moving his feet, he was letting George fall short on the touching jab, and I think people just ignorant about it. They were criticising Scott Quigg. Here's one. They were criticising Scott Quigg when he was fighting Jamie Arthur in the first 3 or 4 rounds for biting on the back foot. And then Scott Quigg decides to go forward. They all love it. And it's like, hang on a minute, you all criticise us for fighting like that. But then he uses his brain early on and everything else, you get criticised for. So, listen, KUGAN, listen, me and the fighters, we know what we do in the gym. And the results prove that. And that's more I can say. But the lads, Macklin, and people are thinking, beat Elcock, beat Asakainen. They're good fighters. Murray beat good fighters along the way, do you understand? Lost to Rios, Macklin lost to Sturm. They're world-class fighters, do you understand? Stephen Smith lost to Selby. We're not losing to mugs, do you know what I mean? They're world-class fighters. And when they say the same style, all right, Billy Graham, all these fighters fought the same way. You show me one of Billy Graham's fighters that didn't fight no different. Ricky Hatton, Paul Smith, Matthew Macklin. Go through them. Michael Gomez, Farnell. They all fought the same way. Fought forward, everything else. I think sometimes Matthew Macklin and Paul Smith, having trained the pair of them, and I speak to Paul about it now, they needed a bit more arm around them at the time instead of having gun-ho wars in the gym with Ricky. But no one was criticising Billy Graham for his style. Brendan Ingles fighters all train the same style. No one criticises them, and they're getting success out of it. Billy Graham was getting success out of it. He found a way that he won. Do you understand? Michael Gomez couldn't be a back foot fighter when he went to Scotland beating Alex Arthur. So I just think people, it's like a season for picking on people. I remember when some people were getting stick, and it's like, it's Gallagher's time, and they look to criticise. But I say to you, well, if you're criticising mine, go and criticise Billy Graham's. They'll say he had Ricky Hatton and everything else, but you're saying about style. I remember Stephen Bell, a 5'10" upright boxer, trying to fight like Ricky Hatton. So, but no one was criticising him at the time, do you understand? So, and that's no disrespect to Billy Graham, he did a fantastic job, but he found a niche and a way to get his fighters success, and which is great. The Ingles have found a way to get their fighters success, do you understand? The Tibbs, everyone has their own little way, but no one's criticising them. Some would say the Ingle fighters are boring to watch, although Naz, obviously Johnny Nelson, people like that, will say different Ryan Rhodes, do you understand? Because they've been like Kid Galahad coming through, an exceptional fighter, but don't be too quick to say about the same style, because they're not all the same style. They're not, and I've just proved that the kids that started with the two Murrays weren't from the same style. So it's just a point I wanted to make.
And how well you say it. Do you,
Sorry, mate.
sorry, the last thing I just want to touch on this is, do you feel as though when things go wrong on fight night or whatever, then people are quick to sort of criticise you and say things, but when things go right and you produce champion after champion, then people don't really give you the plaudits you deserve? Is there a bit of that?
Well, that's like people. I'm not here, and I've always said to the lads, even the amateurs and the pros, I'm not here to make friends, KUGAN. I'm here to win titles and win fights. And my lads employ me to do a job, and that's what I'm there to do. If along the way people want to stop and talk to me and be friendly with me and talk, then I'll do that. I'm happy and everything else. But for first and foremost is my lads winning and fighting and everything else. And if it comes with people bad calling and everything else, but it's like in any business. I'm supposed that it's whether you're a good salesman or whether you're good at school, or everybody likes a pat on the back. You like the pat on the back, you got the award, everyone likes the praise, everyone likes the back. And I do feel people forget at the time, I had 2 European champions and 2 British champions at the same time, Macklin and John, and Stephen Smith and Crolla at the same time. Well, at the moment now we've got Liam, the Commonwealth champion, everything else. But what happened was when we lost, there was a little bit of quick Gallagher's tactics. Macklin Sturm, how can you criticise over that? Macklin fought a great fight, and 95% of the people that night thought Macklin won. John Murray, Brandon Rios. I feel John Murray was more competitive in Brandon Rios' fight than Gavin Rees was with Adrian Broner, but they want to quickly criticise me. John was competitive for 7-8 rounds of that contest, all right? And they just, Stephen Smith, Selby, and they all said at the time, oh, he should have beat him. But why should we have beat him? But why aren't you giving Billy Nelson stick? Because John Simpson got laid out in 5 rounds by Lee Selby. Just put your hands up and go, no, Lee Selby's a good kid. That, if you remember rightly, Crawler was on the same night in Vegas, and I said to Crawler, I can't go to Vegas with you, mate. Stephen's got a real tough fight with Selby. And I felt it was unfair at the time for Selby that they were saying it was Stephen being bad and Selby not being good. He had full attention for that fight, do you understand? And I do feel there's a little bit of a unjust thing, but that's what you get in all walks of life, don't you? Success breeds contempt and breeds jealousy and the green eye. And listen, whether you're Jose Mourinho or whether you're Alex Ferguson or whether you're Adam Booth or whether you're Robert McCracken, whatever, you can't please all the people all the time, but the main people that you have to please are the people that employ you, and the people that employ me is my fighters, and that's all I'm interested in. And it's like, it'd be nice to be recognised by your fellow peers, and that's who I want to be recognised by, as my fellow peers. I when I go to London, when I see Jimmy Tibbs, Johnny Eames, and they see me and they're pleased to see me and they have respect for me as a kid and somebody who's a big boxing fan, that's like touches me, do you understand? I like when I meet Adam Booth, when I see Robert McCracken, they have respect for you, Dominic Ingle, Brendan Ingle, do you understand? That's where I get my thing from, that fellow pros and peers respect me, and that's all that matters to me, do you understand?
All right, and just
is that answered right or wrong?
Well, it's your answer, so there's no right or wrong to that. Just to finish off, obviously we've interviewed Callum Johnson today, who hasn't fought in a year, and also Callum Smith, who's fought a few times since turning pro. I think he's had 4 now. So just a quick word on them, Joe, please. Yeah,
Callum Johnson, obviously Commonwealth Games gold medalist. I think he's an exceptional talent. I think he's a sleeping giant in the light heavyweight division. He has not fought for 12 months for whatever reasons. He was due to fight tonight. The show got called again. But I do think he's a sleeping giant. Tony Bellew gives up the British title, which I'm sure he will do. He's moving on to bigger things. I think Callum's possibly 3 or 4 fights away from getting into that. He just needs a couple of 6s, 8-rounders, and he'll be ready to go. Callum Johnson, for a big kid, he's got fast hands, and I do think no one's really seen the best of Callum Johnson. Like, I do think he's a bit like Liam Smith. He's coming up on the rails, and if we can just get him 3 or 4 fights, get him going again, and I do feel that he'll be British champion easily by this time next year. And Callum Smith, well, there's no stopping him. But like I say to Callum Smith, it's nice getting the plaudits, but create the hype, but don't believe it. It wasn't that long ago, 2 months ago, Calier Fire was the best thing since sliced bread. Things have cooled a little bit with Callum, 1 or 2 performances, do you understand? Still an exceptional talent, but I keep saying, Callum, all you're doing is beating, coming through, do you understand? You haven't your test yet, just keep your feet on the floor. That's the thing with Callum, I have no problems with that. He's got his brothers that'll knock it into him as well, that'll keep his feet on the floor, do you understand? Being the youngest with the rest of the Smiths, but I do feel Callum Smith, this is his 6th rounder coming up next week, a couple of 8s, and I think by Christmas time, Callum Smith will be English champion.
Right, well, Joe, listen, thank you very much for talking to iFILM London. Thank you for inviting us down to the gym.
Came down, good setup, isn't it? And I'd like to say, listen, we're very fortunate to be in a great establishment here. The gymnasium and the facilities are first class. And I think if people would have seen the Amir Khan documentary this week, which was on ITV1 replayed, I think people don't realise what Amir gives or puts back into the sport, fighting all the way over in America. But this gymnasium, of a night time when you look around it, it's packed with kids from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night. We're in here training in the days with first class facilities, with saunas, ice baths, 2 rings, the whole lot. And it isn't just that, it's the support that we get for the people that are in here. Azif helps us, Shah, Saj, and even James, the guy who does the works here, he helps the kids out and everything else. And they've got a huge role to play, and I'd like to say a big thank you to them for, like I say, giving us the facilities to be able to, for the lads to train and go on and win belts.
All right.
Cheers, thanks, KUGAN.
Right, Joe, thank you very much for talking to us, like I said, 5 minutes ago. But
someone said the other day, Gallagher's all right for a word or million. They weren't wrong, were they, lad?
You know what? As an interview, as an interviewer, it's great. For a tape, like, it's terrible, because, like, it's great.
You just have to buy more tapes, mate. You just have to buy more tapes.
Buy more tapes. Thanks for being jumper. Thanks for the jumper.
Yeah, it's no problem, mate.
But
I'll get
I
something
didn't
proper next time.
No, this one's all right. Just I'm going to stretch it out.
Yeah, no problem.
Like the arms.
I'll sort you out next time. The Smiths have got your T-shirt with iFILM London Gallagher's gym on. They'd have to get onto board. They've got it. Yeah, sound brilliant. All right then, mate.
We'll hunt them down. Right, this is KUGAN CASSIUS with Joe Gallagher here at Gloves Community Centre here in Bolton for iFILM London. Thank you very much. iFILM.